A NASCAR spin that lasted 3 seconds just triggered a firestorm that's still burning days later. Kyle Larson, one of the biggest names in the sport, went on a podcast and basically accused a fellow Cup Series driver of faking a crash for camera time. And the driver he's talking about, he's not backing down. This is Carson Hocevar versus half the garage right now, and it's only getting louder. Here's what actually happened at New Hampshire. Rain soaked the track before the Dollar Tree 301. NASCAR put the field on wet weather tires for the pace laps. Carson Hocevar pulled ahead of the pace car to test grip on his own and spun out in turn 4. That forced NASCAR to send everyone back to pit road and delay the start a second time. Joey Logano, running right behind him, was heard on his team radio calling Hocevar an idiot in the moment. Hocevar later posted online that he was simply trying to find grip while no one else was around him, rather than guessing after the green flag dropped. Then Kyle Larson stepped in and turned a racing incident into a full-blown storyline. To understand why this blew up, you need to understand where Hocevar sits right now. This is his third full season in the Cup Series with Spire Motorsports, a team that isn't supposed to be title contenders, but Hocevar has made noise all year. He was as high as 5th in points earlier this season before sliding back toward the playoff cutoff. In other words, every point matters. Every headline matters. And right now, he's generating headlines for the wrong reasons. This isn't the first time his name has come up for aggressive driving either. Larson brought up an incident from Iowa Speedway claiming Hocevar went after Christopher Bell after getting lapped twice. And in New Hampshire, after recovering from his own spin, Hocevar was involved in more contact, this time sending Connor Zilisch spinning. So when a respected veteran like Larson starts questioning your instincts on a podcast, it doesn't just fade away. It becomes a pattern in the public eye, right as the playoff picture is being decided. Let's break down what Larson is really saying here, because it's more than just he spun on purpose. Larson isn't just criticizing one moment. He's questioning Hocevar's entire on-track identity, suggesting that the aggression has stopped being a tool and started being a habit that's running ahead of Hocevar's actual skill level. That's a serious accusation from one competitor to another, because it implies Hocevar is racing on instinct and emotion rather than calculation. From a strategic standpoint, testing grip solo before green flag isn't unheard of. Drivers do it to avoid guessing blind in tricky conditions. The problem is optics. When you're the driver, everyone is already watching for aggressive incidents. Any unplanned spin gets read as intentional, whether it was or not. That's the trap Hocevar is in right now. Reputation shapes perception. And once a narrative like he does this for attention starts circulating from a name as big as Larson, it sticks, fair or not. Is this dangerous for Hocevar? Potentially yes, not because one spin costs him a race, but because playoff-adjacent drivers get scrutinized by officials, rivals, and media far more than mid-pack cars. If other drivers start believing he races recklessly on purpose, that changes how they race him. Tighter, more defensive, less willing to give him room. That can snowball into more incidents, not fewer. Is it smart? Only if Hocevar can separate the noise from his actual results. Talent got him to 5th in points earlier this year. If he lets the outside narrative dictate how he drives from here, that's when it becomes a real problem. The reaction has been split right down the middle. One side of the fan base is fully behind Larson, pointing to the Iowa incident with Bell as proof this is a real pattern, not a one-off. The other side sees this differently. A young driver at a smaller team fighting for respect, using every inch of aggression he can to stay relevant against bigger budget teams. Media reaction has leaned toward treating this as a legitimate storyline heading into the playoff stretch, not just a passing quote. When a driver of Larson's stature speaks this directly, analysts don't ignore it. So where does this go from here? 2 paths. Best case, Hocevar uses this criticism as fuel, quiets the doubters with clean, competitive racing down the stretch, and turns he's too aggressive into he backed it up. Spire Motorsports gets a legitimate playoff story out of it. Worst case, the reputation follows him onto the track. Other drivers start racing him tighter and less forgivingly. One more incident, real or perceived, and this stops being a podcast quote and becomes a full-blown NASCAR controversy with garage-wide consequences. Which way this breaks depends entirely on what happens in these final regular season races. So here's the real question. Is Carson Hocevar a driver playing on the edge because that's what it takes to compete? Or has the aggression genuinely gone too far, like Larson is suggesting? Drop your take in the comments, Team Larson or Team Hocevar. And if you want the next update the second this story moves, make sure you subscribe, because this one isn't over yet.